Hello and welcome to another episode of Pat Bear's Anime Club. This is an ongoing video series. Every other Monday I put a new episode out where I take a look at something from the world of anime that I'm just so anxious to talk to you about. It could be looking at a particular series or a subgenre. Maybe it's doing a review of the current anime season, a preview of the next season, which, hey, spoilers, is coming up. I'll be doing that at the end of this month, looking at the spring season in review and then previewing the summer season, which is on its way, as I said. So look for that. But right now, we're actually looking ahead, not even the summer, looking to the fall of 2020, because Bleach, the Thousand Year War, is coming. We are getting an anime adaptation of the final major arc for Bleach, which had not been adapted previously when the anime ended in 2012. It is the last major arc. The manga has been over for several years, and we're getting an anime adaptation. There was a thing there basically for like the 20th anniversary of the manga, later than the actual 20th due to the coronavirus. Anyway, they're like, hey, big announcement. 10 to 22. We're doing it. We're getting out there. Bleach, the Thousand Year War is coming. Get psyched. Get hyped for it. Buy the manga and remind yourself that maybe it's not. There was a reason why we didn't get the adaptation. There's many reasons, but anyway, consider this not only your preview of the Thousand Year War, but also your summarization of Bleach and what it is, in case you weren't watching anime between the years 2004 and 2012, and you weren't watching the Adult Swim Cartoon Network stuff, and you weren't buying DVDs, and you weren't getting involved in Crunchyroll. I think it was Crunchyroll at the time. It could have been Funimation at the time. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. That's the research that didn't happen. Anyway, so Studio Pierrot, who are doing this return, the new arc, did the original. And Bleach is part of the Big Three. I might dedicate a whole video to the Big Three at some point because there are a lot of things that people just get wrong about it. But basically, when we're talking about the Big Three, we are talking about Bleach and One Piece and Naruto. These big blockbuster shonen series that were popular in Japan and popular in the United States that sold manga and DVDs of the anime and VHS tapes and were on television and had various degrees of great adaptations or terrible adaptations. And people say, like, well, is it really the Big Three? Did the Big Three actually mean anything? The real thing is, no, it doesn't mean anything. And you can argue it's like, well, Dragon Ball was way more popular than any of those, even in the United States, or Gundam. I mean, Gundam Wing could have been in there. Or, in my personal opinion, a manga that was very popular in the late 90s and had an anime adaptation in the early 2000s, Hunter x Hunter, has much more cultural significance in Japan. Maybe not here in the United States, but in Japan, certainly. The movies that have come out, the anime movies that have come out since, the revival anime adaptation that came out, and then also the fact that there is a amusement park is going to soon have a Hunter x Hunter themed area, and the manga is coming back, and people are very excited about the manga coming back. Maybe it's more important than Bleach was in Japan, but that's also similar, I should say, where the United States thinks a lot about the early great NES games, and you will probably talk about Castlevania. Castlevania, and maybe even Metroid, are not big deals in Japan, but we think of them as classics here in America. And that's, in my opinion, that is where we kind of fall on Bleach. Bleach was very important to a lot of people at the time, therefore it's part of the Big Three, the big wave. But is it actually that significant in the long term? I disagree. I don't think so. Because, in my opinion, it would be we would have had the anime adaptation of the Thousand Year War before we had it now in 2022, or you would have seen a reboot that would have then included that, would have X'd out some of the filler arcs, and would have gotten to the war at some point. Because filler is a big reason why we didn't see the Thousand Year War. This is one of those things where the anime adaptation was happening while the manga was happening. Now, One Piece has solved that problem by having filler arcs of various degrees, and also having a phone was ringing, and hopefully you didn't hear that. But if you did, I'm not redoing it. I don't redo these. Unless they're very bad. Or I'd say something completely inaccurate and have to do light editing, but probably not. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So One Piece does that by just slowly adapting the material, taking some breaks, but mostly just like instead of 3 chapters of a manga being one episode of anime, they do like 1.5 to sometimes one chapter. Um, Bleach just took breaks, did its own filler, changed some stuff as it went, and then eventually just stopped. Got canceled in 2012, and we didn't see any more of it. If you're unfamiliar, as I said, this is a little guide to Bleach. Ichigo, who you can see in the photo right here, is our main character. He's just a dude. He can kind of see spirits. He's kind of, he's a human guy. Raised by his father. His mother passed away when he was young. He's got 2 little sisters, I should say. And they're just, they're a goofy family. The dad's, definitely kind of flighty, and Ichigo's trying to be a good boy, main character, protagonist. It's like dead parent. And trying really hard and got an attitude, but you understand the attitude. Anyway, a Shinigami shows up. A Soul Reaper shows up, and she gets injured fighting a Hollow, which is just this like monstrous creature. And she's like, well, I'm gonna die. Here, use some of my powers temporarily. So he becomes a Soul Reaper, a Shinigami, and defeats the Hollow, and then learns about this world. And a lot of shit happens. Their friends get involved. They find out, okay, there's the Soul Society, for where people with souls go after death. There's humans. And then there are the Hollows. And the Hollows are corrupted souls, and they are trying to break out of their hell dimension, basically, to wreak havoc on Earth. And there are different levels and all that other stuff. And, some people in the Soul Society are born there. Some of them aren't Soul Reapers. It's a whole thing. And humans are mostly just like, there are some humans that can kind of like feel stuff out and have some sort of the same kind of powers that Soul Reapers do. And there used to be other humans named the Quincy. And they were humans that used a different kind of spiritual power. And their big thing was, we can't rely on the Soul Society. We're going to take care of these Hollows. And the big difference between the Soul Society and the Quincy was, Soul Society was like, we are going to purify these souls so they can go to the Soul Society. And the Quincy's were like, well, we can't do that, and we don't want to do that. We want to destroy these souls. So, big conflict there. They had a war. It lasted 1,000 years. All of the Quincy, except for one, were defeated. One family remained, which just so happened to be the last surviving member of that family, or the newest member of that family, I should say, is Ichigo's friend. And then also he's got some other friends that also, by being with him for a long period of time, as he's this like substitute Shinigami, also develop some powers like the Soul Society, as I said. Later, we're going to call those Fulbrights. That's the last arc that we got an anime adaptation of. Big things happen, lots of plot twists, lots of characters get introduced. Some of them die, some of them betray other people, some betray the betrayers. It's this whole big, long shonen arc. Characters get empowered, secrets revealed. There's a bunch of, at best, like nonsense, at worst, complete and total retcons and abandonment of the early story about Ichigo, which is also in the 1,000-Year War, which is we are coming to. There's a lot of stuff in this arc that is bad, and maybe the anime adaptation will be good because maybe they won't do all of it and they'll condense it. The fights are very good, but a lot of it is filler manga week to week. But maybe it'll be a faithful adaptation and that's a bad thing. I don't know, because we don't know. Somebody knows out there. If this is going to be like 52 episodes, it'll be like weekly for a year with a couple breaks here and there, a couple weeks off. If it's going to be 2 core, it's going to be like 22 or 24 episodes. It will just be 12 episodes a season, and they'll just go through a few seasons telling this arc that lasted several years in the manga. We don't know. We, the audience, don't know because they haven't said what it's going to be. My guess is it's going to be seasonal. And we might get a 2 core and then like a break, or we'll get like one season, a break, and then the next season. And I don't think it'll be a weekly series. Um, it'll be a little more like World Trigger, which is happening right now and going through a seasonal thing, instead of like the remake of Shaman King, which is a weekly series and then breaks and then weekly. Um, but I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. Again, there's some great stuff, and it's not my favorite arc because there are great action scenes. But like again, there's a tendency in this series to that we've kind of gotten somewhat away from in shonen. We do have our good boys, and arguably our 2020s good boys are way better boys than our late 90s, early 2000 boys. Um, you know, our nice boys are nicer and genuinely better people than Ichigo and Naruto and that era of those boys. I mean, Yusuke is just a delinquent with a heart of gold. That's a little bit more where Ichigo is as well. Um, so it will be interesting to see how this feels like. There have been Orphan. I talked about Shaman King. They redid Orphan. Orphan feels very of its time. The remake of Orphan feels like it shouldn't be. It shouldn't exist. There's no reason to remake Orphan. But some anime adaptations, renewals, like obviously different genre, but Fruits Basket feels very good. It's a great adaptation, and feels more true to the manga. So my hope, honestly, is that Bleach is not true to the manga. Do I think the Fulbright arc was a good ending point? No. I mean, he got his powers back. He's going to go into this with all of his Shinigami powers and maybe, be stronger. And there's more stuff coming through. And like I said, some characters you really like from previous ones doing some cool stuff, and some new characters that are somewhat good but not really great. Which I definitely liked some of the other characters in previous arcs, the new villains and their associates, more than this particular arc. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to say about this? Great action, terrible retcon. Yeah. I've said this a couple times here. I was starting to make that point, and I got distracted by myself talking about Good Boys. There was a tendency in the late 90s, or mid-late 90s, and then early 2000s, up until almost 2010, I would say, of making the main character the chosen one. And Ichigo is the chosen one. Almost every arc goes out of its way to make sure you understand that without Ichigo, this shit all falls apart. Yusuke ends up eventually becoming kind of that from Yu Yu Hakusho, where like eventually you learn his pedigree and the reason why he has some of his powers and who his ancestor is, and you're like, I wish this wasn't there. Hunter x Hunter I like because, I mean, Gon isn't even the main character of his own story anymore, but that was impartially, I think, a reaction to Yu Yu Hakusho. But you have that thing where like your main character is really, really important. Ichigo is incredibly important to the story. The story doesn't work without him. You can't replace him with Rukia. Because often in some of these stories, you could just take out the main dude who's going to struggle for a long time and put in the main woman, and it'll be fine. In many areas of Black Clover, you can just take Asta out and everyone will kind of figure it out eventually. Maybe they won't be as strong without having the moral support of the guy that doesn't give up, that they all cherish, but like he could be a support character and it will be fine. But yeah, you've got to have this dude, and this last arc goes out of its way to make sure you understand that our boy is number one. Also, the humor is kind of gone out of this by that point, and that might actually be a good thing because I don't particularly think the humor holds up on review of some of Bleach. I don't think the humor goes. I think the music still kicks ass. The score is fantastic. I think the animation was really good for its time, especially considering that it was this kind of like just get out the episodes, put them out. I think it still holds up. Some less than others. They certainly worked on their high action episodes, and they're like recaps. They're like people yelling and struggling with each other episodes as well. So I think the digital animation is going to make this look fantastic. I hope the CGI isn't used too often for big battle scenes and is just used sparingly when they need to. The voice actors from the last video game are all coming back, so it's all the people that you would probably want for the subtitle. I can't tell you about the dub because I don't know anything about the dub. If they're going to get a lot of the same people back, or if it's going to be new people, what's going to go on. But that's kind of your introduction and recap, and also a setup for what will be pushed. I have to imagine that Crunchyroll is going to be pushing this. I could imagine this showing up on Adult Swim. I don't know. This feels like someone will want this to be a big deal. If it becomes one or not, I don't know. I don't know how it'll do in Japan. I don't know how it'll do here. But it is completing the work. It is supposed, I mean, also, it could get canceled. It could just be like, do nothing and be very expensive, and people are just like, nah, and they don't finish it. And it like doesn't wrap up. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. And that's going to be it for me talking about the Thousand Year War. And, I don't have my, we'll just do this. There we go. Awesome. And that's this this episode of Pat Bear's Anime Club. In the comments below, let me know what you'd like to see me do next. I know that at the end of this month, I'm going to do an anime club that is my wrap up of the spring season and looking ahead to the summer season. I know that's coming. But I don't know, and I also think I'll probably do another, like, weird manga premises episode, because that was fun. People seem to like that one. But I don't know what else to do. I'm a little bit struggling to think about, like, I've hit the ones I definitely want to do, and there are a few that are, like, require a lot of research. This one didn't require too much research because I'm well acquainted with it, but, like, let me know, especially if it's something that, like, will take me some time. I would love to give you what you want. So in the comment section below, let me know what you'd like to see me cover in the future. Is there a subgenre you'd like me to explore? Is there like the history of a particular series or a studio that you would like a deep dive on? Is there anything you want me to try to convince you to check out that, like, you hear me talk about it and you'd love to be persuaded to try, like a series or a subgenre or a genre? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for checking this out, and I will see you on the next Pat Bear's Anime Club. Goodbye.